Oh, this is about Yeshua HaMashiach. This is Love Life Ruach Remnant Reality Radio. I'm Rev Rock and I'm a Yahweh for Yahweh bringing it to you.
Muted. The recording has started.
See, when you leave Egypt, that's what has to happen. When you leave Pharaoh, that's what has to happen. You have to become a new creation. You have to become something different than what you were. And everybody has to see it. You can't be a hypocrite and get back on your donkey or get back on your camel or get back on your horse and ride back into Egypt whenever you feel like it. You can't do it. So what you're going to see us do throughout this week of Passover 2023, 5783, what you're going to do this year and what you're going to see this year is you're going to do some real soul searching to be able to connect Yeshua's Passover, Yeshua's Pesach of 2,000 years ago to the original institution of Passover that happened in Egypt 3,500 years ago. So we're going to take two major, huge, historical, proven by all of the archaeological stuff that definitely Yeshua HaMashiach existed and definitely was killed brutally in the town square 2,000 years ago. I mean, they beat the crap out of that guy. And people wrote about it. People that weren't even of our faith. So we've got a lot of documentation on this guy. In fact, when it was put before the Harvard law people, you know, that were the experts in evidence, in the subject of evidence, and they pretty much said there's more overwhelming evidence that this man existed 2,000 years ago than all the presidents that have ever served the United States of America. I mean, there's a lot of evidence about this guy. No president has ever had more stuff written about them than Yeshua HaMashiach has. Are you kidding me? And it even says it in the scripture that the mountain of books about this guy that was here, Yeshua, is like the greatest historical thing that ever happened. That's why more people have read the scriptures than any other book. It's the number one read book. It's the number one studied book. It's the number one, audio book. It's the number one. And there's a reason for that. We put that movie up, and the quality really isn't. I've seen better quality, so I could look around to try to find something better. But usually you don't get the whole 3 hours in one shot. So the nice part about it is, however they were able to upload it, they had a trusted enough account with YouTube that they could put a big video up. And I pointed it out to Leb. I said, hey, look at this. These guys uploaded this a year ago. This is a 1995 video that I had on a VHS, right? I had it on the big old, VHS. I didn't even have it on a DVD. I had a VHS. Later on, I bought the DVDs with Sand. And in fact, I think the DVD for it was given to Yami, and she was supposed to share that at her house. So I hope that she didn't lose those, because that was ministry property. I think Sand bought the whole set, with Love Inc. finances, and it was for the purpose of sharing with the congregation. And it was easier than trying to find it on YouTube and then have the low quality to just have a nice quality DVD and play it. Of course, none of our computers anymore, when you buy a brand new computer, even has a DVD player in it, so it makes it pretty hard to do, right, to even watch this stuff anymore. But my point is that there's a lot of evidence, more than anything, about what happened 2,000 years ago. So this Passover that we're studying this week is not some secret. It's not a secret. And what happened 3,500 years ago has been retold and retold and retold and retold and retold and retold year after year after year after year after year after year after year, and that is exactly what Yahweh wanted to happen. You think he's stupid? Repetition is the key to learning. If you didn't know that, you better write that down, put it in your notes. I told you I watched that video 40 times. So now I am an expert at comparing that version to these other versions of Moses that are out there. You know, the first thing when Leb first got here, he asked about this version of Noah, and that is a horrible version. I think it's Russell Crowe or somebody, right, that's in that one, and they just totally screw it up. I mean, they do things in there that is not scriptural, and that's the sad part, is most of these movies do not follow what the scripture says. There was this one Jesus version that came out, which was done by the husband of the woman that played in Touched by an Angel, which we used to play that because there was some value in that. We used to play those reruns, you know, to try to teach lessons to people, but there was so much unscriptural stuff in there. You were constantly having to explain that to the congregation that, well, that's really not, you know, that's not right. And it's the same thing that I said to Leb about the shack. Everybody says, oh, the shack, the shack, the shack, the shack. Well, there's a lot of really messed up stuff in the shack. So, you know, Sam doesn't even like it at all, because when this black woman comes out and it's supposed to be Yahweh, she just, that's like, no, I've had enough of this, you know. I'm not into it. Now, we do know that Yahweh has feminine to him, but to not present him in a masculine is really trying to kind of go with the world version of everything and, you know, screw up the sexuality stuff in our heads and, you know, try to get past that man was created first and woman came out of man, and the rib is supposed to go in man, and you're supposed to be one, and that's what a covenant is really about, is the woman is a part of a man, and when they come together, they're complete. That's really what it's all about. But, you know, people screw this stuff up when they express it in movies and they express it in audio clips and whatever. Or in the music, you know. They screw it up. So I want you guys to be able to, in this Passover, I want you to, at the end of the 8 days, I want you to be able to say, and 8, by the way, represents a new beginning. So when you get to the end of the 8 days, this should be a new beginning for you in your faith. So I'm kind of setting a goal for you to say, you know what, at the end of this 8 days, I am going to be further along than I ever was before. I am going to learn so much about the foundation of my faith, because guess what? These feasts, they're the foundation of your faith. And we've been duped, we've been tricked by religion to not follow the feasts, to replace them with pagan days and pagan celebrations and screw it all up. That's what we've done. So I appreciate Randy's teaching, but I do need to put a disclaimer about YRM if you're someone that's been sexually messed up and marriage-wise messed up, you may run across an eventual teaching by Randy, not by Alan, that would make you feel very condemned. So Sand and I, we had to work through a lot. One Shabbat, we were playing YRM, and Randy just came out on people that were divorced and really, really, really messed with us. And, I'm over it, and I'm going to continue when I have a little time, which I don't usually have, to study with these guys. But honestly, I lean towards Alan's messages more than I lean towards Randy's anyway. And it seems like now that Alan's gotten up in age, Randy seems to be doing more of the teaching and leading. So I think he's already kind of passed the baton. I'm not sure what Alan's up to. Honestly, I don't even know if Alan's still alive, because I haven't seen him on any new videos recently. So, I want to make this real clear that I look for and I judge righteously every teacher that's out there right now. And I want you to get used to, like it says, we have to learn to judge ourselves. Yes, you need to judge yourself, but you need to also test everything the Scripture says. And I want you to be testing me constantly. It doesn't mean that I don't want you to believe in me and have faith in me and pray for me and hope for me and everything else. I want that. I need that, honestly. It helps me a lot to have your prayers, to have your encouragement, to have your edification. I need it. All right? I also need you to look at me under a microscope of righteous judgment and say, is this guy teaching us the truth or not? Please always do that for me. And if you think that there's something that I have said that you did not agree with, you are welcome to write a letter to president at yhwh.love. President at yahweh.love. That'll go to my wife, and I'll tell you right now, if my wife got a letter that I taught something false from somebody out there in this world, she would be the first one to get in my face privately. She wouldn't embarrass me and start to confront me and say, did you say this? Because this person is saying you said this and that it's on a recording out there. You know what? I've done a lot of recordings that have gone out publicly, and if I was in a bad place, I know people don't like sometimes the language that I use. And I do get pretty raw and real with people of the way people talk on the street, and I've used it as a connectivity point so they don't think I'm some, suit and tie minister man trying to get their money, right? I don't want to be little church boy anymore. I don't want to be UPC, gotta wear a shirt and tie, or you can't get up on our platform, sir. You're not welcome to talk here. You're not good enough. Your message isn't good enough, because they don't look at the message. They look at the outward appearance too much in the United Pentecostal Church. That's one of their biggest downfalls. If you won't wear a tie, and I stopped wearing a tie a long time ago because a tie, just so you know, a tie is a Freemason belief. It came from the Freemasons, which is grounded in the Luciferian doctrine. Yeah, that's the bad guy. Okay? So, no, I'm not going to wear a tie anymore. And if you want to push that as something that you believe, and that the women have to all wear dresses, and the women cannot wear makeup, and the women cannot cut their hair, and you want to go down all those roads, well, then you might as well become Torah keepers, and that's what's happened to a lot of UPC preachers, is they've converted. I know them. They're friends of mine. They've left the UPC, and they went to a deeper truth, a better truth. And they still stand on that the women need to wear dresses, but the cool part is, I've noticed most of them don't wear ties. So we've all got these same similar convictions, and by the way, I love a woman in a dress, and I love a woman with long hair. It's always been more attractive to me. A woman that cuts her hair, to me, is not as attractive. I'm sorry. It's just, I just couldn't do that. I couldn't go there. And there is some scripture in the Torah that kind of refers to some of these things, and I don't want to go there right now, but I just want you to understand that there is a lot of detail that comes into us studying together, and I want to prepare you, because this Melchizedek study that we're going to do tomorrow is big time. All right? It's going to be great. You're going to love it. Okay? So, we are going to do tomorrow morning, beware Melchizedek priests versus Levitical priests. This is where religious leaders typically become false teachers. So I'm going to show you the root of false teachings and why it gets so messed up. And we're going to go through Ibrim 7, or Hebrews 7, in full, but we're going to highlight Ibrim 7:7 and Ibrim 7:11, or Hebrews 7:11. We're going to highlight those as two main scriptures, and then we're going to get into a bunch of others as well to point out this message, which will be Ibrim 7:25, Ibrim 7:27. Those will be all the ones in chapter 7. And then in chapter 8, we're going to look at verse 5. And in, let's see here, in 9, I'm sorry, no. Then we're going to go to Hebrews 9. We're going to look at verse 10 under a microscope. And then we're going to go ahead, Hebrews 8:5, Hebrews 9:10, and then Hebrews 10:4, and Hebrews 10:11 through 12. So those will be our highlights of bringing forth this message about priesthoods. Because what gets established 500 years ago is the Levitical priesthood. What was established, and that's in the Mosaic and the Aaronic covenants. There's two covenants. And if you understand the separation between what Moses was doing and what his brother Aaron was doing, there's actually two different covenants that come out of the whole Mount Sinai miraculous experience, from the burning bush to the Ten Commandments being written in Yah's finger with fire into the side of a mountain. And then building the ark to put those tablets of stone in there, which there's proven fact that these tablets existed and that they did carry them around all over in this ark. And there's all kinds of theories as to where the ark is today and where the commandments are today. So all I'm going to say is, again, this is an extended service because of this. We're not ending at 6:37. So if Leb is getting a little bit wound up here, I realize we're past the 2 hours, But this is Passover 2023, 5783. This is Pesach, and I am going to do more this week. I'm going to do more this week than I normally do. So if you're getting impatient or you're saying, wow, he's going really long today. Yeah, well, I'm setting you up for a feast. This is a time you're supposed to dedicate your time more this week than for other normal weeks. If you don't like that, well, then you don't like the way Yahweh structures it, because that's what he does. He sets it up that way. Now, again, you can work today, all right? And again, the calendars are a little off, so, a day, it seems like there's a one-day discrepancy this year between several of the leaders that we work with, like Don Esposito, who was the one who transliterated, and worked on the Hebraic Roots Bible. So for those of you that have the Hebraic Roots Bible, please have that ready tomorrow, and you'll see the differences between that version and some of the other versions that we're going to be reading from, because we want you to be able to compare versions of text as well. In fact, YRM, Yahweh Restoration Ministry, they have their own version that they use. Okay? So all that being said, I just want you to understand that there are key differences between the two priesthoods, and not get confused anymore, if there's been a confusion, of which priesthood you're in. Because anything that was written to them regarding the Levitical priesthood is not applicable to your life, but there are lessons from the Levitical priesthood that could positively affect your walk, so don't throw it in the garbage can either. But the priesthood you're a part of is the Melchizedek priesthood, which goes back to Abraham, and Yeshua is the fulfillment when he gives us his covenant, the final covenant, the seventh covenant. It's the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenant, the prophetic, and it brings it forth into real life for you to become a priest. A high priest is going to be in there, and that high priest is going to be welcomed to come into you and live in you, and that's Yeshua. So you're going to be a royal priest, you're going to have a high priest, but it's not going to be a Levitical priest. So that's a little preview for what we're going to do tomorrow, and I hope you're excited about it, because I am, and I think it's going to be great. So I will be putting a lot of this stuff online so it's easier for you to follow along. I've got a lot of writing to do to complete this, but in the meantime, I see Yami just took her microphone, and I can see green little dots coming. So maybe she wants to pray over everything that's been shared today and pray over this entire Passover season for us, and pray us out. And I hope that you all have an incredible day. I love you.
So Father, thank you again for giving us these special feasts, these special opportunities to take time to just learn more and become more like you, and change our mind in the ways that we've gone that isn't correct. That you show us the right way, and we choose your will and your way. So we ask the Ruach to take over for today and be the lead. Put the light up our path and allow us to walk not in darkness, but in Yah's marvelous light. Now, keep us all in proper alignment with this holiday, and that you created this opportunity to grow. And we thank you.
Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot, mikol haleilot, shevechol haleilot anu achlin chametzu matzah. Halayla zeh kulo matzah. Halayla zeh kulo matzah. Shevechol haleilot anu ochlin she'ar yirakot, she'ar yirakot. Halayla zeh maror, maror. Halayla zeh maror, maror. Shevechol haleilot einanu mapilin afilu pam echad, afilu pam echad. Halayla zeh Shitefet amim. Halayla zeh Shitefet amim. Shevechol haleilot anu ochlin ben yoshenu ve'mesubin, ben yoshenu ve'mesubin. Halayla zeh kulanu mesubin. Halayla zeh kulanu mesubin.
Do 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 do.
This is that age-old Passover tale that's retold. This is what we listen to while eating through those matzah pieces. Climbing, tiling, building Egyptian cities. We worked hard but prayed to God, and He freed us all, so get ready.
It's Pesach.
Oh man,
There
what?
was a burning bush on fire, man. It's Pesach.
Big fan,
There's
what?
a Pharaoh Jew got Iron Man. It's Pesach.
Change pants, what?
So He took us out of Mitzrayim. It's Pesach.
Let's grab, what?
So it's bad if you have chametz. Clean it up. Kids singing Manishtana. Kids singing Manishtana. Kids singing Manishtana. 'Cause Uptown Passover's coming to you. 'Cause Uptown Passover's coming to you. 'Cause Uptown Passover's coming to you. Stay to the night and we save you a spot. Don't be slaving, just not hit it. Don't be slaving, just not. 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 Hey, hey, oh!
Stop, say the Kiddush.
Fill 4 cups, manage if it's in them.
Lots of food, no chametz.
Shmulio, start the bench.
Went from Egypt, Sinai, all the way to Judea. We showed up and settled down in the land that we now call Izzy.
Kaddish,
Or Chatz.
gonna bless the wine, then wash your hands. Kapas,
Yeah, Chatz.
take the parsley and break the matzah, man. My kid,
Raksa.
tell the story, then wash again. Motzi,
Matzah.
eat the matzah, it's so crunchy. Break it up. Kids singing Manishtana. Kids singing Manishtana. Kids singing singing meine Steine. Cause Uptown Passover's coming to ya. Cause Uptown Passover's coming to ya. Cause Uptown Passover's coming to ya. Stay there tonight and we save your spot. Don't be slaving, just nosh. Get it out. Don't be slaving, just nosh. 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 Hey, hey, oh! Before we eat, let me tell you a little story. He said, let my people go. Let my people go. He said, let my people go. Let my people go. Moses said, let my people go. Let my people go. He said, let my people go. Let my people go. He sent blood and frogs and lice all over their bodies. Wild animals all angry. Livestock disease, now that's nasty. Boils, hellfire, and locusts. Plague of the firstborn and darkness. Say to the night and we say you stop. Don't be slaving, just nosh. Come on. Don't be slaving, just nosh. 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 Ladies and gents, this is the moment you waited for. This is the greatest show. It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. And it's here right in front of you. This is where you want to be. It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. And it's here right in front of you. This is where you want to be. This is where you want to be.
We are not strangers to the dark. Slave away, they say, 'cause we don't like your faulty gods. We won't let them break us down to dust. We know that there's a place for us. Oh, we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut us down, gonna stand the flood, gonna drown them out. We are brave, we are bruised, we are who we're meant to be. Yehudim, look out, 'cause here we come. And we're marching on to the beat we drum. We're not scared to be seen, we make no apologies. Yehudim. From now on, these eyes will not be blinded by the lights. And from now on, what's waiting until tomorrow starts tonight. It starts tonight. That there's promise in these stars. Like a light bulb in my heart. From now on, from now on,
more than you could ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, 'cause we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. And the world becomes a fantasy, and you're more than you could ever be, 'cause you're dreaming with your eyes wide open. And we know we can't go back again to the world that we were living in, 'cause we're dreaming with our eyes wide open. We're dreaming with our eyes wide open. So come alive.
Bum bum down da down down bum bum down da down down bum bum down da down down bum bum down da down down. Look down, you'll always be a slave. Look down, you're standing in your grave. Look down, don't look him in the eye. Look down, you're here until you die.
At the end of the day, you're another day colder. And the shirt on your back doesn't keep out the chill. And the righteous hurry past, they don't hear the little ones crying. And the guards coming up fast, ready to kill. One day near to dying. At the end of the day, there's another day dawning. And the sun in the morning is waiting to rise. Like the waves crash on the sand, like a storm that'll break any sack. There's a hunger in the land, there's a reckoning still to be reckoned, and we're gonna be free someday. At the end of the day.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by, when hope was high and life worth living. I dreamed that hope would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. And I was young and unafraid, and dreams were made and used and wasted. There was no ransom to be paid, no song unsung, no wine untasted.
Who am I? Can I condemn these men to slavery? Pretend I do not feel their agony. These innocent who bear my face, who go to judgment in my place, who am I? Can I conceal myself forevermore? Pretend I'm not the man I was before. And must my name until I die be no more than an alibi? Must I lie? How can I ever face my fellow man? How can I ever face myself again? My soul belongs to God, I know. I made that bargain long ago. He gave me hope when hope was gone. He gave me strength to journey on.
Watch them run amok, catch them as they fall. Never know your luck till there's a free-for-all. Here's a little nip, there's a little touch. Most of them are brothers, so they won't miss much.
Monday to a new beginning.
Raise the flag of freedom high.
Every man will be a king.
Every man will be a king.
There's a new world for the winning.
There's a new world to be won.
Do you hear the people sing? Tomorrow will be far away. Tomorrow is the judgment day. Tomorrow we'll discover what our God in heaven has in store. One more dawn, one more day, one day more.
Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men?
It is the music of the people who will not be slaves again. For the wretched of the earth, there is a flame that never dies. Even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise. They will live again in freedom in the garden of the Lord. They will walk behind the plowshare. They will put away the sword. The chain will be broken and all men will have their reward. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Somewhere beyond the barricade, is there a world you long to see? Do you hear the people sing? Say, do you hear the distant drums? It is the future that they bring when tomorrow comes. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Somewhere beyond the barricade, is there a world you long to see? Do you hear the people sing? Say, do you hear the distant drums? It is the future that they bring when tomorrow comes.
ما نشتنا هالليلة هزير مي كموخا ندانا كوديش ما نشتنا
will never be done. There's more to clean than can ever be cleaned. Grab a candle and search for the crumbs. When the Seder table is ready and all the chametz has been found, our family arrives and the sun leaves the sky. At the table we'll gather around the Seder tonight. Passover retold with our principle, thanking God above. Making threats, Moses, you dare. Your days of making Jews your slaves are done forevermore. And if you challenge God's in place, we'll shake you to your core. I'm telling you, you'd best listen to me, or God will bring your kingdom to its knees. It's time to let my people go and sleep, 'cause we just can't wait to be free. We're eating the matzah for 8 nights and days. We're eating the matzah, so put that bread away. We had to hurry from the land we were slaves, so we're chametz free culinarily. I made it a matzah.
And who doesn't love some good matzah?
What's a matzah?
Nothing. What's the matter with you?
We had to hurry from the land we were slaves. So we're hummus free, culinarily. We're eating the matzah. And the Seder bread. Tells us the Seder tonight. Seder tonight.
This session is no longer being recorded.
Preparing to live stream the meeting, it says.
Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
I really hope this works. Oh, it's working. I think we're live. Are we live?
That's what it says.
Okay.
Here we go.
Let me see when I hit refresh here on the live stream. There's a little bit of a delay, but maybe. Yeah, okay. All right. The moment of truth. Oh, we're live, I think. All right. Excellent. Here we are. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us for this Passover live from quarantine.
Pre-Passover. Pre-game
Passover. Beseda, this is the pre-game. What did you call it? The pre-game?
Pre-game. This is pre-game meal. This is we're doing this ahead of time.
Now, look, there's some people who already did their Passover, depending where they are in the world.
Exactly. But you came up with a great thing. You called it the Passover model. How did you call that?
A model Passover.
Model
Passover.
Passover.
Very common thing they do in the Jewish world. They'll do a model Passover. Oh, let me record it here. Hold on.
Okay.
A model Passover at the synagogue, and then people will go home and do their own Passover based on what they learned and how to do it and everything.
Awesome.
So we are here. Can we begin? Can we?
Well, people are out there. I mean, they're out there, right? They're there. So
I'm looking here at the Facebook. There's 120 people watching it live right now.
Awesome.
And we've had tens of thousands who have watched the previous live from quarantine programs.
You know, Nehemiah, you sent me that information the first time. I think it was like 22,000. The second time, it was like 12 or some thousand.
Well, that's because the first one had longer. Like people watched it maybe like 2 weeks later, right?
So you do it on Facebook, you do it on YouTube, we send it to our email list. So there's lots of people that are being encouraged. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to do this live on Facebook as well, but I've been banging my head for 2 days in the technology, and really a shout out to Deborah, who has been working on the technology and trying to get it working. And we have this set up, and also Jeremy has also been very helpful. But we still have some hurdles.
Yes.
And just to give you an idea, so this morning I updated Zoom, which we're working on right now, and I went to then click on invite to get you in the room, and the invite button's gone. Like, okay, how do we do this?
Yeah.
So we're definitely technologically challenged here, but we've got it live on YouTube, and I want to actually, if we could start out, I would like to invite our friend T-Bone to join us. And I'm just going to shoot him a message here. And hopefully,
the T-Bone?
The famous T-Bone who's been working on the Hebrew manuscript with me.
Yes.
Along with E-Bone, who's another gentleman working with him as well. And we are looking for as many Hebrew manuscripts as we can with the full vowels. I'm going to let him tell you what the number is. I know, but I'm going to tell you.
That's great. Where is he?
He'll join us momentarily. Until then, I kind of want to give people the rundown of what we're doing. I told people we're doing a Passover Seder, or you're calling it a model Passover Seder, because it's kind of, it's early. It's a couple hours before sunset here. I want to show people some of the things that I'm going to eat at my Passover Seder, because really the Passover is about eating. Oh, there he is. There's T-Bone. Hold on, this is connecting to audio. T-Bone, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, T-Bone, can you give us the rundown? We're all here in anticipation. How many manuscripts?
Introduce him, Nehemiah. Just don't, say something about this guy.
I introduced him a minute ago before he got on. You were there. What are you talking about? T-Bone, how many manuscripts do we have with the full vowels, with the name Yehovah? Well, actually, first tell me, how many manuscripts have we found of the Hebrew Bible where it has Yahweh?
0.
0?
0.
Okay. Have you been doing your job? I don't understand this. Okay. How many do we have with Yehovah?
2,363.
2,363 manuscripts with the full vowels. And we're not talking about that it's one time in each manuscript, right? Most manuscripts, it's at least twice, and some of them it's thousands. Am I right?
Correct.
I was actually really blessed that I got to sit down in Jerusalem with the Damascus Crown, which is one of the 6 key manuscripts. And there it's only the Torah, but it's almost on every page it has Yehovah with the full vowels, thousands of times.
So does T-Bone actually look at these manuscripts? How does he know the number? How does he know the number?
T-Bone, how do you know the number?
We have a database that we keep, and we scan the whole manuscript, and we log them if we find usually 2 or more examples.
Yeah, there are some special cases where you did it with only 1, and that's when we only had a fragment of a manuscript. And I tried to then verify those with a microscope, infrared and ultraviolet when possible, which I've been doing now. Well, I guess I won't be doing it much longer because you can't travel anymore. But last summer I traveled all over Europe and was examining manuscripts with ultraviolet and infrared. And T-Bone was essential to that project.
Why is that? What does T-Bone do? What does T-Bone do that's so important? I mean,
so I'll just give you an example. So there's one manuscript. I'm not going to tell you what it is right now, but it's as big as you can imagine. But I'm not going to say yet because things are still waiting to be published. But so they give me at a moment's notice, okay, 2 days from now you're going to get in. We need a list of exactly what you're going to look at. And so then I call up T-Bone and I say, stop the presses, everything you're doing. No sleeping for the next 2 days. I need you to help me compile this list. Because if we go in there and we miss the shot, we've missed it. There's not another window, maybe in our lifetimes. So it's really been a big blessing. Yeah.
Nehemiah, you got to give a hint. Just tell them how many pages there is in that manuscript. As a hint.
So I know there's one of them. It's like 800 or 900 pages. I don't remember the exact number.
We scanned that thing 3 times already.
What's that?
We scanned that one 3 times.
And by scanned is we looked at every word on every line of every page. Looking for specific phenomena like the full vowels or erasures.
And how long have you been doing this, T-Bone?
How long has it been, Nehemiah? 2 years?
2017, so it's 3 years.
3 years.
Wow, unbelievable.
We're in the 4th year.
You're quite talented.
Extremely talented. He's a godsend. I'm very grateful to Yehovah for giving me a gentleman who has this ability.
Yeah.
It's really a blessing. All right, so can we get to the food? T-Bone, can you see what we're doing?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, so I'm going to eat some things here. Can we do that, Keith? Are you ready for that, or what do you want to do here?
Well, I'd like to add one thing, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Knock yourself out. You're in.
That number I gave was including New Testament manuscripts that had the full vowels in the name.
How many?
So we have 8 of those. So 8 of that number I gave was New Testament with full vowels.
Okay. So without the New Testament, we have 2,300, and I'm so bad at math, 56. Is that right? Oh, no, 50, you said 8. So 55. 2355. Is that right? Are you there?
That's close, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here.
And then you said 2363, right?
Right, 2363.
Okay. Okay. So, and then there's another 8 that ever the New Testament. Okay, very, very cool.
Right.
And you're talking that actually have vowels. And how many of the New Testament manuscripts did you find that have Yahweh?
0.
All right. Did you look for Yahweh?
Oh yes, you'd be the first to know if I found it too.
I hope I would be. In other words, it's not just that we're saying, hey, let's only look for the things we're looking for, but we're looking to see whatever there is. And we actually did find a manuscript that had Yehovah instead of Yehovah. Okay, one out of how many do we look at altogether? I mean, a lot more than 2,300. Do you have a number of how many we've looked at altogether? The latest number?
Oh, we got. I'm showing 20,272 right now that we've. Now that's completed, scanned. Let me look here.
Did you say 20,000?
Yes.
Okay, it's kind of like anything after 20,000 doesn't count.
And then we have
wow,
21,121 manuscripts that we've scanned, but we haven't finished scanning the whole manuscript yet.
Okay. Right, because sometimes it's 800 pages.
Right.
For example,
right.
Damascus Crown, you open up 3 pages and you immediately see, okay, it's almost on every page. I don't need to scan every.
And there's other criteria we look for, but.
Sure. And look, some of these are fragments. They're 2 pages long. Probably the majority, or at least.
Can I ask you a question? I'm listening to you guys talk about this, and I remember earlier when people asked the question, well, how many manuscripts have you guys actually looked at? You remember the days when we were.
Oh, it wasn't a question. It was an accusation, Keith.
An accusation.
It was you only found that in 2 manuscripts. So what?
Yeah.
You only found that in 3 manuscripts.
Then it was.
Then they move the goalposts, right? After you find it in 1,000, they're like, oh, it's in all the manuscripts. Well, it's actually not in all the manuscripts, right? It's only in 10% of the number that we looked at. 90% don't have the full vowels, and that's a whole other discussion, right? There's a vowel missing, 90% of them. Hey, T-Bone, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to continue here with Keith and wish you can you wish everybody a happy Passover, Chag Sameach?
Happy Passover, everyone.
All right, shalom. Thanks. All right, I'll see you.
Thank you.
Hello. Bye-bye. All right. Let us continue now. Actually, can I read a passage here, which is the key passage I want to focus on? People said, Nehemiah, you're going to be doing this Passover Seder, pregame, whatever it is. Are you going to, recite the certain blessings, and what are you going to do here? And I decided, I don't want to just do a bunch of man-made rituals.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do God's rituals. Can we do that, Keith?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to jump to Exodus 12. We read this before, and I'm going to read it again. Exodus 12, verse 8. It says, they shall eat the flesh that same night. This is the flesh of the feast of the Passover sacrifice. That they shall eat it roasted over fire with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs. Now, I'm not going to be doing a Passover sacrifice today, and that's because in Deuteronomy 16, it says, you shall slaughter the Passover to Jehovah your God. And it says, in the place that Jehovah will choose to cause his name to dwell there. Let's see. Okay. And then it says in verse 4, for 7 days no leaven shall be found in all of your territory. None of the flesh of what you slaughter in the evening of the first day shall be left till morning. You are not permitted. Say not permitted.
Not permitted.
You are not permitted to slaughter the Passover sacrifice in any of your settlements that Jehovah your God is giving you. But at the place where Jehovah your God will choose to establish his name, there alone shall you slaughter the Passover sacrifice. Okay, so in Egypt, they were able to do it in their houses. They were required to do it in their houses. Today, we can't do that. But what we can still do is eat the matzah and the bitter herbs. So can I invite the people to join me to eat the matzah and the bitter herbs?
It sounds like it's exactly what you're going to do. That's
beautiful.
Good.
Now, I have some lamb here, but it's not sacrificial meat. I actually have a gourmet chef that joined in this project and prepared homemade matzah, lamb, different sauces, and this is going to be a smorgasbord. Can I invite the people?
Absolutely. I want to say something before you get started. So it's only what time is it here? It's 6:14 here. So we're actually in our house preparing for Passover, and I am going to ask Andrea to do me one favor. Andrea, can you bring me one of those special things that you created for us? Because you're going to do this. I want to.
Please.
I want. This is our first year ever, because of all of this, where we weren't able to go out and get the normal matzah, and so Andrea decided to create it just like what you have. And so I want to.
Scratch.
Can you
Beautiful.
bring me one, Andrea?
That's the best kind.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So I join in with you. So, and you know, I got my lamb out there, and I've got the bit
You're
of.
gonna bring some?
We're gonna use your meal as the model meal, and then after that, Andrea and I will sit down and we'll once we.
All right. Are you ready?
You can't see it.
Okay, we can't really see that. Put it in front of your shirt. Oh, there it is. Homemade matzah.
Homemade matzah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Go ahead.
So here I have the traditional matzah. I got this at, I'm going to get rid of my background because it's causing some problems here. Hold on a second. Oh no, that's a different background. We don't want that one. None. There we go. Okay. All right. This is the traditional matzah. It says Holy Land handmade shmura matzah. Shmura means that it is guarded. And literally from the moment the plant is, the wheat is harvested until it comes out of the oven and is packaged, there's someone whose job it is to keep an eye on it. Literally, it's guarded. Okay, so this is shmura matzah, and it's handmade in Jerusalem. It says Holy Land handmade shmura matzah, matzah shmura v'dat yad in Hebrew. And what's funny is I got this at Costco in Plano, Texas, near Dallas. And it says here in Yiddish, challah genomen, it's not actually Hebrew, that they took a portion off for the priest. And these are your traditional matzahs. This is what it looks like. Okay, that's the handmade matzah. I also have here homemade matzah. This is baked matzah. Now it doesn't look anything like it, but there's no difference. This is salt, water, and oil. In fact, what we did this morning is I sat down with my gourmet chef and we read Leviticus 2, actually, yesterday morning. Leviticus 2 is a cookbook. It has a list of recipes. It talks about making the matzah, and it tells you what's in it. And everything in Leviticus 2 is matzah. One way to do it is you bake it, you can fry it, you can make it on the griddle. So here I have it made on the griddle, and here I have it fried. And then the third one I have made here is the baked. Okay?
3 different kinds. Impressive.
And all 3 of these have the exact same ingredients: salt, water, flour, and oil. This one, the traditional one, doesn't have oil, but when the Bible gives us the recipe, there's always oil in it. It's olive oil. So that's what I have here. Now, what about the bitter herbs? So I want to look at the passage. One of the questions I asked is, well, what did they have in ancient times to eat? Because the traditional bitter herb that we eat in the Jewish world is this. This is horseradish. Growing up, we ate horseradish, and we also had romaine lettuce, which I never thought was particularly bitter. Arugula is maybe a little bit more bitter. But when you look at the Tanakh, we get a hint of the kinds of foods they had. So when they're complaining about the man, or the manna, it's in Numbers 11. They say, we remember the fish which we ate in Egypt for free. And then they say, and the kishuim, and the avatichim, and the chatzir, and the betzarim, and the shumim. So they mention 5 different types of food. And that's translated in the JPS: the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. I have a famous story I tell about the cucumbers that my mother once sent my father. You know the story, Keith? You remember the story? My mother once sent my father to the local market in Jerusalem to get cucumbers. And my father did not know what a cucumber looked like. He was very good at certain things, very knowledgeable, but when it came to other things, he literally did not know what a cucumber looked like. And so he remembered, though, that Rashi, commenting on this verse, the verse we just read in Numbers, when it said kishu, he translated it into French. He said cucumber. And so my father went into the supermarket, the local market, and asked for kishu. And what did they bring him? They brought him zucchini. Because in modern Hebrew, kishu means zucchini, but in biblical Hebrew, it is cucumber. So they had cucumbers. Cucumbers are obviously not bitter herbs. But one of the other things it mentions there is leeks, chatzir in biblical Hebrew, chesha in modern Hebrew. But this is a leek, which is one of the things we know, and that is a bitter herb, as we're about to find out. Should we test it? Here, let's eat it straight. Okay. What else do we have here? Oh my gosh. It also mentions batzal. Batzal in modern Hebrew is onion, but in ancient Hebrew, it refers to one of two vegetables, if you can call them vegetables, the scallion and the shallot. Shallot. How do you pronounce it in English? Shallot. Scallion and shallot. Scallion and shallot actually come from the same exact word, and that is the word Ashkelon. Ashkelon is the city on the coast of Israel. It was one of the 5 cities of the Canaanites, of the Philistines, occupied cities. And the types of onions that came were these 2 types of onion. And so in English, we've gotten the 2 words scallion and shallot from actually from the Latin. But in Hebrew, this is just batzal, and this is also batzal in ancient Hebrew, that is. In modern Hebrew, this is batzal, and this is batzal yarok, or this is also called batzal ashkelon, even in modern Hebrew, the Ascalon onion. So they mention the leeks, the onions, and these are bitter herbs, as we're about to taste and find out. What else did they have in ancient Israel? It also mentions shum, which is garlic. Here's my garlic. Hey, we're going to eat that straight and raw. Now, before we get to any comment here, Keith, I want to let you jump in. I want to jump before you jump in, after you jump in, I'm going to read to people something.
Yeah, when this morning I woke up, I was telling you earlier, yesterday was a tough day for me. I really did not I was really feeling discouraged about all that was going on, and really feeling discouraged about all the people, and yesterday was the highest number of people that died, and of course, you just, you hear about this information, you hear about the people, and then I was just really also a bit overwhelmed over the thought of how many people are by themselves and they're alone and not able to celebrate with each other. And I'm struggling with that myself. I mean, it's Andrea and I mean, that's wonderful, but we were intending to have a family of 9, plus my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my son, and his girlfriend, and I mean, just a wonderful, wonderful table, and now here we are, just the 2 of us. And the struggle I was dealing with yesterday was how this affects the heart in the midst of all of this. And then this morning, I did something which is in line with what you're about to do as far as eating. I read Exodus 12 again, and I want to just go to one little section of Exodus 12 that encouraged me, and it might sound like a weird encouragement, but can I read that for us? Okay. In Exodus 12, verse, it's talking about after you eat it, talking about the lamb, etc. Verse 11, now you shall eat it in this manner with your loins girded and your sandals on your feet and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. For it is the Lord's Pesach. For I will go through the land of Egypt on that night, and will strike down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am Yehovah. Then it talks about the issue that Andrea and you talked about last week with the sign, but I couldn't get out of this because I started thinking about this, Nehemiah. This might be the only time in our lifetime where we're so paralleling the very first Passover, not the Passover celebrations that take place all over the world. In fact, right now I was reading to Andrea, 500 people who have COVID-19 in Israel are being served Passover at the Dan Panorama Hotel and it's going to be the largest Passover that takes place with 500 people because they all have COVID-19.
Okay, wow.
So right now, normally people we talked about this last week, but here's what hit me today. He says a really interesting thing. It says, for I will go through the land of Egypt on the night and will strike down the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And then the part that we don't often focus on, and he says, and against all the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgment. I'm thinking,
yes.
Here we are right now, and I wonder if some gods haven't been judged, even in the United States and different parts of the world during this time where we're actually paralleling being in our house. And I started to think of them. The gods of sport, the gods of money, the gods of security, all of these things that we've made so important, none of those things are standing right now. Then I started thinking about how the Father, in his both grace and in his judgment, sometimes acts. So I have a question I'm going to ask you before you get to the eating. 10 plagues, Nehemiah. The first one, Tell me what the first one represents, the water to blood. Like when you think about that, what do you think
So
of?
the Egyptians worshipped the Nile. It was one of their gods.
Okay,
And turning the water into blood was a way of saying your God is powerless before Jehovah.
so here's what hits me today. I thought to myself, does the Father's wheel in time of justice ever move to the point where he also said,
Mm-hmm.
when you killed the firstborn, you threw them into the Nile? Like, think about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they threw him into the Nile. Now Moses is like 80 years old or so, maybe, when he comes back to Egypt.
Yeah.
In the mind of the people as they're sitting there, when he talks about the plagues that took place, and then he says, I'm going to strike against the firstborn, was there any of them that thought to themselves, is this the Father's justice
Mm-hmm.
for that which took place at the time of Moses' birth?
Oh,
Were there
I
any
mean,
people who had...
there's no question. I mean, he said, you've killed my, or he said, Israel's my firstborn son, let my firstborn son go. If not, I'll kill your firstborn son.
So here's
There's
what...
definitely reciprocal justice there, for sure.
Okay, so there's that issue, and then I thought about so that was the first plague, and then the last plague. Sandwiched between that, you have all this that's going on. So here you have the water to blood. I'm sorry, but yeah, the water to blood, the Nile, which represented the place that they threw the children,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have this issue of firstborn, of those that are not under his protection, those that are not following his instruction. Those, I mean, he literally. So I'm thinking, what did they think about that night, the first Passover, not the celebration Passovers that we do?
Mm-hmm.
Were they sitting there thinking, man, just outside the door is death?
They heard the screams. They must have heard.
They had to have heard the screams.
People were dying all over.
So here's why yesterday was so hard for me, Nehemiah.
Mm-hmm.
The highest number of deaths yesterday and now today, a higher number of deaths. I've actually this morning woke up and just felt a sense of peace over the fact that he is a God of judgment and he is a God of righteousness. But I'm still in this issue of grace, that they literally were there. And I'm not thinking they were thinking, let's sing a song, let's dance. I'm thinking they're thinking to themselves, okay, we're under his instruction, and now we need his redemption. We need his protection. And we literally, right now, as you're sitting there, and people by themselves all over the world need that right now. So that's what has encouraged me today, that tonight we actually get to be practical in our thought and our prayer, just like that first night, that it's actually happening just out the door. We don't have to make it up.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
In New York, one person every 2 minutes falling down dying.
So look, this night in the Jewish world is traditionally called Leil HaSeder, the night of the Passover Seder.
Yes.
The Passover commemorative meal, essentially. And the front page of the Israeli newspaper, Yediot Achronot, on their website, they're calling this Leil HaSeger. And Seger and Seder, it rhymes, it's a play on words. Instead of the night of the Passover Seder, it's the night of the closure. Where literally tonight in Israel, you will be arrested if you're caught driving down the street, or walking too far from your home without your dog. It's a complete closure tonight in Israel. So maybe for the first time for Israel as a people, since that first night in Egypt, we are closed into our individual houses.
Right.
Yeah, I mean.
So here's what I want to do before you eat.
Practice.
Before you eat, I want to spend a few minutes with you in prayer for those that are shut in, that are afraid. For those, I'm sure that Israelites weren't sitting there like, hey, we're good. I'm sure there had to have been some fear. There had to have been some terror. There had to have been some thankfulness over the fact that they were still there. But I mean, this is a rare opportunity that it's happening just outside my door, outside my door. So I want to take a moment before you eat to pray for those that are listening, and for those that will listen in the future, and for those like your mom and so many people who literally cannot go and be with family. We can't be with our family. It breaks my heart. I mean, I'm telling you, I struggled yesterday. I cried like a baby. Today I woke up and I just thought, okay, I'm going to lean into this. But I thought about those people in that first night thinking it wasn't just joy and Hag Sameach and happy. They had to have been thinking, man, what is going on out there?
They had to have been thinking, is this blood going to keep out death?
Exactly. So that's why I wanna pray for protection for people tonight.
All right.
Before we do this. I'll pray, and then you
And remember, Pesach means protection. That Yehovah sees the blood, and He protects the entrance from the.
And then also, I'm going to bring out my special shofar this time. I'm not going to bring out the little military shofar. I'm going to bring out.
Are you going to do that now, or can you say that for the end?
Right at the end, after I'll pray, you pray, and then I'll do this. So
All right.
let's all pray together.
All right.
Yehovah, we are in one way overwhelmed at the way you orchestrate. And we do believe you're a maestro, and you are orchestrating this Passover night all over the world, that people would actually be in true remembrance and have an opportunity to walk in the steps of those who are in their homes, and just outside the door there is death. We pray, Father, for those that are by themselves right now. So many that have messaged us, Nehemiah and I, and saying that this would be important to them because they're going to join us, and we're doing this so that we can be in community, Father. But more than Zoom and more than us eating and talking and sharing scripture, Father, I pray that you would draw yourself close to the brokenhearted, to the fearful, to those that are struggling at their core and wondering if they're at risk. I pray, Father, that you would just do what you did for me this morning and give peace that passes all understanding. Give grace where grace is needed. Give joy where joy can help. Give love where love can be a blessing. Father, for our friends and family right now that are struggling, we just pray that you would do what you do best, that you would draw close to them as you are drawing close to us right now. We thank you, Yehovah.
Amen. All right, I'm going to pray at the end after I've done my food.
Awesome. Can I
blow the shofar?
I want to blow my shofar.
You're blowing it now?
Yeah, I'm going to blow it now, blow it later. Who knows? Might blow it 3 times. I don't know.
All right.
But I want to blow the shofar just as a...
Your kudu shofar.
Yeah.
Kudu zela.
Amen, amen, amen.
All right.
What we got to eat, Nehemiah.
All right. Let's start with what we
That little
had.
commercial.
Let's actually just start with what we had from the book of Numbers. We know that these are foods they had. So I've got, and this is from Leviticus 2. This is the oil matzah that was made in a frying pan, just like it describes in Leviticus 2, one of the flour offerings. I'm going to take here a piece of lamb.
Yes.
My delicious lamb from my gourmet chef. And I'm going to take a piece of horseradish. Actually, I have here a horseradish sauce. This is horseradish. Not
So you got all this stuff
it has
like this.
cream.
You did this all this morning?
This was all made in the last few hours. What are you talking about?
Yeah, wonderful.
It's fresh off the thing.
Wow.
This is my Passover plate with my different things here that we had in ancient Israel. So, all right. So I'm going to dip it here in the horseradish.
Yes.
And we'll see what this tastes like. If it's bitter.
So wait, now tell me what you have there. You got your.
So we've got the matzah made with oil.
Yes.
And we've got the lamb inside there.
Yes.
This is the horseradish and cream.
Before you eat it.
Yeah.
Are you telling us that right now this is the only biblical instruction for what we are to eat?
That's all there is. And the lamb is just a commemoration. It's actually not actually a sacrifice. But this is the Passover Seder right here. This is what you need to do. Tell the story of the Exodus and say, why do you do this? Because Yehovah took us out of Egypt, and we went out rushed, and as a result, we couldn't bake the matzah. This is Exodus 12 and 13. And here it is. I'm going to eat it. The bitter herbs that remind us of the bitterness of slavery.
Amen.
And now we're going to freedom.
Amen. Wonderful, Nehemiah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, there it goes to my nose. All right. Now, take another piece of lamb here. The lamb here is delicious. It's like candy. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And I'm going to put on it, we have here, so I mentioned batzal yarok, which is in biblical onion, and shum, which is garlic.
Yes.
That's this guy. Oops. And the other thing we know they had in ancient Israel is nana, or mint. And my gourmet chef here made a sauce that contains all three, along with olive oil.
Oh my
I'm going to
goodness.
put that sauce on, this mint sauce.
Oh my goodness, we got to learn about this.
Here it is. Oh my gosh. Ooh,
So,
got a little kick to it.
wow.
Now I'm going to eat a straight garlic. That's my bitter herb.
But you're not going to talk to anyone.
This is the, woo! This is the, that'll kill that coronavirus, I hope. This is the batzal yolk, the scallion. That's delicious. That's not so bad.
Wonderful.
All right, now, those are our biblical foods. Well, the horseradish is mentioned in the past, but it's the traditional one. Now, oh, then here's the shallot. Let me do a shallot too with, here's the one made on the griddle. It's a little bit more brittle. And I'm gonna put a piece of lamb on top of that. My little shallot there.
Uh-huh. This is just really making me hungry. I can't wait until we have our Passover meal here.
A Versailles napkin, like a flower. Okay, that was beautiful. Wow. I feel like I'm Gordon Ramsay instead of Nehemiah Gordon here. That was lovely. All right, so I want to read people. There's this inscription that was written sometime in the 500s or maybe early 600s, and it's called at a place in northern Israel or Beit Shan called Rehov. Rehov is a city mentioned in the Bible, and there was a synagogue there. And Rehov has the largest Hebrew inscription that's ever been found in an archaeological excavation. Did you know that?
Really?
The Dead Sea Scrolls aren't inscriptions. They're, I suppose they are in a way. They're documents. But here it was written in what do you got going on there, Keegan?
Go ahead.
So Rehov has this inscription in front of a synagogue, and it lists on a mosaic in this largest inscription that's ever been found all these different vegetables that they had in Israel at the time, ancient Israel. And so I want to read a little bit of it because I took this as a recipe book. I said, I don't know, what are bitter herbs? Is bitter herbs really this thing? This isn't mentioned in the Tanakh.
It's very bitter.
It's not as a bitter herb. And what did they have? So here it mentions, and it's actually talking about the laws of the sabbatical year. And in that context, it gives a list of different fruits, or not fruits, but vegetables. It says cucumbers, watermelons, muskmelons, parsnip. And here we've got some parsnip. Mint that is bound by itself, black-eyed peas that are bound with rush, wild leeks. Did I have the leek? I don't remember if I ate the leek or not.
I didn't see any.
Oh yeah, here's the leek. Well, let's do some leek. Because that could have been the bitter herbs. It's something they had in ancient Israel. Right? I mean, we know they didn't have tomatoes in ancient Israel. Why do we know that? Because they come from the New World. So we've got here some of the matzah. I really like the oil matzah. That's my favorite, or they're all oil matzahs, but I particularly like the one that was fried in the frying pan. That's my favorite one so far. So I've got some lamb here and a leek. Okay. Okay. Boy. Black cumin, sesame, mustard, rice, cumin, dried lupines, whatever that is, large-sized peas, garlic, scallions, grapes, hyacinths, late ripening dates. So I brought some medjool dates here. I'm going to eat with my meal as well. Wine, olive oil, etc. That's it. Okay, so let's look at some of these. By the way, we mentioned cucumber.
Yes.
Cucumber is one of the things they had in the Bible. Definitely not bitter herbs, but we can make it part of our sandwich. Growing up, we actually had something called the Hillel sandwich. Hillel was this rabbi around 30 BC, and we're told that he took the matzah and he wrapped it around the Passover sacrifice together with the bitter herbs and ate them together. I don't know if he's the first one to do it, but he's the first one we know of to have done it. How do you do that with this matzah? You can't wrap it.
Can't wrap it.
Whereas this biblical matzah is actually wrapped. You know, you can wrap it. You can do it. So, all right. So now I'm going to eat some more here. What do I have? Oh, these are our parsnip, like parsnip. We're going to put that in with some cucumber. Did I just eat the cucumber? I guess I ate the cucumber. But I'll add some more cucumber. We're going to eat a little bit more. And we're almost done with the eating portion here. I'm going to eat some more later tonight. I'm going to make a big sandwich. This is like my Big Mac here. And I have this other sauce, which is just a beautiful sauce. It has mint, basil, pine nuts, garlic, and olive oil. And I'm going to dip that sucker in there. Wait, what do I have that's bitter? I guess the, yeah, oh, the garlic is bitter. But I'm going to take some horseradish.
Can I ask you a question before you eat that?
Hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
Will you put that in?
Yes.
Okay, before.
Wow.
Very good.
That is amazing.
My question for you.
That's the best Passover sandwich I've ever had. Holy cow.
My question for you is, so you
Yeah.
got this recipe right out of the Bible, huh?
Out of the Bible and out of archaeology.
Awesome. You
That's
think
what we're doing here.
You think you might be willing to write down some of these things for our next year in Jerusalem? So
Absolutely.
No, seriously, because it seems so much more creative than, like what we'll do tonight is I told Andrea I've always waited to have this kind of Passover, partly because of COVID-19. I don't have all the other things, but I do have lamb that's out on the grill. We do have matzah that Andrea made, and we have some bitter herbs. So we're going to be able to do that tonight, but it would be so cool, Nehemiah, if you would have your chef help you sit down and create. Yeah, ask the chef to actually create for us what all those options were, because those are all biblical ways that we can eat that are very different. I've never even, seen that. Wow.
This here is a little bit of a dessert type of thing. It's sesame mixed with sugar and flour. Now, if you ask the rabbis, they'll tell you flour is leaven. Flour, by definition, is not leaven.
Right.
You add water to flour and let it sit for an extended.
My wife had to teach me that, because when I first understood this, I was like, "We throw away the flour, throw all the flour away." And we went back and forth, and she went and said, "No, this is what actually is in the flour that's not in the flour." And come to find out that you can have flour. How are you going to make matzah without it? But me.
So the rabbinical definition of leaven is that from the moment the water hits the flour,
it starts
completely baked, has to be 18 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they have a problem, because it says that the Israelites left Egypt with the dough in the kneading troughs over their shoulders. And obviously it was more than 18 minutes, because they didn't get to bake it at the earliest that night when they stopped. So the rabbis say there was a miracle, that the 18 minutes is only if it's left to sit. If it's kneaded, if you're kneading it with a K, then it can be more than 18 minutes. And so the rabbis say there was a miracle that birds came and pecked at it to keep it from leavening, thereby kneading it. In other words, they're trying to reconcile the biblical account with their own definitions that they've invented, and their definition they've invented doesn't fit the biblical account.
Can we unpack something? You've done a really great job, Nehemiah, of making me hungry. I want to just, with you for a second, unpack a couple things, okay? I want to unpack why you think, it says these three things: the lamb. Why the lamb?
Why the lamb? The lamb was.
Hold on just a second. Why the lamb? Why the matzah? And why the bitter herbs? And maybe obvious answers, but a lot of people, this will be the first time that they do it. So why the lamb, first of all? Let's start there.
So the lamb was the god of the Egyptians. They worshipped sheep. They had a god named Chnum, which was their lamb. And so the Israelites were despised by the Egyptians. We're told this already in Genesis, that the Egyptians couldn't even eat at the same table as an Israelite because they raised sheep for slaughter. So the Hebrews were considered an abomination, we're told, to the Egyptians. The feeling was mutual, apparently. And we're told we slaughtered our God before their eyes. Earlier, Moses had said, let our people go in the desert. We'll go for 3 days, and we'll perform sacrifices to our God. And Pharaoh said, no, do it here. You don't have to go into the desert. And he said, if we sacrifice your God in front of your eyes, your people will stone us. So this was a central part of the Passover event, that the Egyptians worshipped sheep. And when he says carrying out judgment upon all the gods of Egypt, he's including among that slaughtering the sheep and showing, hey, sheep have no power. There's only one with power, and that's Yehovah, the creator of the universe.
Second one, why the matzah?
The matzah is they were in a rush to leave Egypt, and God had actually told them to get rid of their leavening agents, their seor, which is the sourdough starter, or their yeast. He had told them to do that, and so without that, it could take quite a long time for the matzah for the dough to rise.
As they were leaving, they were in a hurry. They
were in a hurry. That's what we're told in Exodus 12 and 13.
Third thing.
Why the bitter herbs? Because they had bitterness in Egypt as slaves.
Exactly. So it really, to me, is like when what I love about the whole idea of reading the story, eating the food, it just brings it all to the forefront in terms of what it's meaning. Now, let me bring up a little controversy, if I might.
God commanded us to eat horseradish.
Yes, might I bring up a little controversy while you're snacking? Hopefully it won't cause you to choke. So I've always wondered why, during this time, when the calendars match, why so many churches disregard the time of Passover. So I did a video, a Time Will Tell series, and some people have heard about it. But one of the things that I did also after the Time Will Tell series is I went out on a weekend where there happened to be Passover, Easter on the same weekend, basically in the same time. In fact, it even paralleled the time in the New Testament pretty close, where the whole thing, where Yeshua would have prepared to celebrate the Passover and all of the issues that went around that. I know there's lots of controversy over that. But one of the things that really bothered me is that I went during the time that this was taking place, tried to call churches, tried to call pastors, and there was literally, I couldn't find any at the time, at that time here in Charlotte, who understood or even acknowledged the fact that it was Passover during that time and that it paralleled the actual time that they were preparing for, which was Easter Sunday. Now here we have that again this weekend. Easter Sunday is coming on Sunday, and many people that are listening could actually go and call churches or call pastors and ask, are you giving your people an opportunity to understand what we call language, history, and context? What's the context of that time that took place? It was this. And I just, that really burdened me then, and it still burdens me now. I was talking to someone just today, a pastor. I didn't even realize that this was Passover.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and so what does that mean? Oh, what I'm really wondering about is how am I going to get to my people on Sunday? Another controversy. Some people are saying in some states, well, we're going to go ahead and have our Easter service, and we're going to bring all the people together. And you know what? That's probably not going to work out so well in terms of.
There's one guy out there who said COVID-19. And he's saying, he is making the prayer over COVID-19 now, and from what I understand at least, is he's saying it has no power because he's proclaimed it to be so. How's that working out for you?
Yeah, but what breaks my heart about that is that I mean, now think about it again.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about God's protection during a time of vulnerability like we're dealing with right now, and they've missed this? They've missed this opportunity, which right in the Bible that they're preaching from. It's right there. And so that's something that again, I hope that we can continue to give people a chance to understand that, even those that are listening right now, for us to be a witness to people about the significance of this Passover, I think is really important. I really do.
So you mentioned the Easter, how people don't realize the connection to Passover, or that the original context was Passover and that it was Christianized. So in the Greek Orthodox Church and in Greek in general, it's called Pascha.
Yep.
Right. They don't celebrate Easter. They call it the Feast of Pascha.
Yep.
Pascha is simply a word that comes from the Hebrew Pesach. Right. In Hebrew, it's not called Passover. It's called Pesach. And Pascha is a Greek form of that. Hellenized form.
Do you know when the Greek Orthodox are celebrating Pascha?
I don't. When?
The 19th of April.
Oh, really?
That's why I picked the 19th of April, commercial, to launch the Red Letter series. I wanted to do it at the time that they call Pascha.
Why are they doing it on the 19th of April? What's the significance? Is that a Sunday?
Sunday, absolutely.
Okay, so it's this particular Sunday.
Yeah.
So they're doing, they're doing it the Sunday after the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
That's something? Yeah. That's
when do the Catholics do it?
They'll do it this Sunday. They have here's what's happening. On the 18th, they do the special fire, and so they can't do it in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So literally what they're doing, Israel's letting them fly planes in. Only 10 can gather in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre to bring out the holy fire. And true story, they're flying the plane in and they'll bring the holy fire to them and get on a plane and take it. That's on the 18th of April. Because the church is closed. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre was closed down. No one can go in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, But I'm encouraged about what's happening this week.
I am as well. Well, I mean, I'm encouraged, but I'm also, concerned about, people dying, as you mentioned. But yeah, we have an opportunity here to serve the Creator of the universe. We have an opportunity to experience Pesach in a way that in the previous years you couldn't, experience it.
Yeah, and that's why I want to tell you. And the star of the show last week, Andrea, my wife.
Yeah.
All they tell me is, boy, your wife, boy, she really, really helped me. They're inspired. They're putting up the red cloth over them. All these things. She handed me something, and I want to read it. This is from her. She's preparing us for our Passover, which we need to prepare. It says, a hope alert. Here I was doing some research on the Hebrew word for Passover in anticipation of the celebration beginning this evening. And she went to do, she's got her Hebrew Greek Key Study Bible, and what it gives her as a description is it means a sparing, an exemption, an immunity from penalty and calamity. These words have special meaning this year. Isn't that true? Amen?
Amen.
Yeah. I mean, that's I mean, if we're not dealing with that, we're not dealing with anything. People are feeling that. We need it.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, we can really experience it in a way that you couldn't. Look, we have this thing, Bashana Haba'a Yerushalayim Habnuya, next year in the rebuilt Jerusalem. It's a song that we traditionally sing at the end of Passover. Bashana Haba'a Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim Habnuya. And at the, then there's this phrase that appears in the traditional Passover service, Mi'avdut lecherut, from slavery to freedom. And Prime Minister Netanyahu gave a speech a few days ago, and he took out the word slavery and he put in the word bidud, mi bidud lecherut, from quarantine to freedom. And that was his blessing over the people for this Passover. And I want to echo that may soon we be out of isolation, out of quarantine, being able to freely and safely walk around outside.
Well, I asked you a question, Nehemiah, and at least in North Carolina, we have about another week or two of quarantine. So that means at least you're committed to do live from quarantine next week. And I hope that people will tune in. I have a passage that I want us to unravel, to unpack during this time, but still during the time of during unleavened bread. But I will tell you something. Last week, we talked about not accepting the 100,000 to 240,000 dead. Today, they're now announcing, we don't think it's 100,000 to 240,000 now. Now we think it's maybe closer to 60 to 80,000. Unacceptable. Amen? We're not even going to accept 60 to 80,000.
We may not have a choice, but
come on, work with me in faith here. Come on now. You're going to stand with...
I'm agreeing with you in prayer.
No, we're going to pray against even that number. We're not satisfied yet. So my hope and prayer is that we'll take this night as an opportunity to accept the grace for ourselves and pray it for others. Those people, so many people that are struggling right now, they need someone to stand in the gap for us. So those that are listening right now, those that are celebrating in communities, many people don't know, many of my pastor friends don't even know about this, but we are going to be the remnant, the ones that are going to do what we can do, that we get to do during this particular time as a sign of grace and blessing from him and protection. Amen?
Amen. All right, can I end with prayer?
Absolutely, please do.
Yehovah Avinu Shabbat Shemayim, Yehovah our Father in heaven. Yehovah, please put your protection, be the Pesach, the protection over all of those who are in danger right now from this disease, from the Negev, from the plague that's gone out and is spreading around the world. Yehovah, please protect them. Please be with them in the hospitals and in the quarantine and the isolation. Be with those medical people who are on the front lines, keeping people alive and diagnosing them, Yehovah. They need you. Be a protection over them, and over the elderly and anybody who's in a high-risk group. Yehovah, please protect them. And Yehovah, this number of 60,000 to 80,000, you can make it much lower than that, Yehovah. Please, every life is precious, Yehovah.
Life is precious.
It's in your hands, Yehovah. I ask that this Pesach, that this be a time where people come to experience your love and your grace. In your holy name, Yehovah. Amen.
And Nehemiah, you are experiencing this, I know, through Makor Hebrew Foundation and through Nehemiah's Wall. I'm experiencing it through BFA International, is that the Father is using this situation in a way that we could have never, ever imagined. And I want us to lean into that. I want us to lean into the fact that we trust that we're in his hand. He is Maestro.
Yes.
I can tell you that you had T-Bone on earlier, and you gave him as a gift to help us to create that tool we talked about. The Red Letter Series is going to be on April 19th. I know right now that you're doing a number of things. You're doing this one thing, and then I look up and you're doing conversations with people, and you're having things are happening with Nehemiah's Wall. Things are happening with Hebrew Voices. So I want to just take a minute, if it's okay, for you to share some of what is happening, and I want to share what is happening to encourage people throughout this time of quarantine. It isn't just what we're doing today. So
Yes.
I'll go first, or you can go first.
You go first.
Okay, so one thing that's happening that's kind of got me in a bit of a shock is that on Facebook, we put up the video that we did last week, and we did it with an international group of people in Nehemiah. Something like 3,000 people from different parts of the world are saying, oh, we want, whether they do it or not, they're actually engaging with the announcement of the Red Letter Series. And so what we did on the front page of BFA International is just put a banner. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to bfainternational.com, and there's a front banner that will take you to the section where you can understand what's going to be launching on April 19th. In the meantime, we have so many people that are excited to be studying. It's going to be 17 weeks. I only hope that quarantine won't be for 17 more weeks. We'll start on the 19th, and hopefully our life from quarantine will end because we'll be out of quarantine. But I'm very excited about that. You can go in for free, start studying with the first phase of the Red Letter Series, and the second phase will start on the 19th. So on the front page of bfainternational.com, you can click, you can go in and start that process. Thank you.
And over on nehemiahswall.com with my ministry, Makor Hebrew Foundation, I'm trying to put out as many teachings as I can for people. I know people are alone at home.
Yes.
A lot of them have been furloughed from work and can't go to their jobs. And so I've had a bunch of projects on the back burner that I just pushed forward and said, it's not perfect, but perfect is the enemy of done.
Completion.
Of completion, exactly. I just had a conversation about the nature of the Christian God with the Trinitarian and the Unitarian conversation I never thought I'd be a part of.
And I couldn't believe that you did this. Someone called me and said, the guy says to me, what time is it? I said, what time is what? And come to find out, you got other things going on. I couldn't believe it. I'm glad.
Have a bunch of other projects, guys. Go over to nehemiahswall.com. If you've got a phone, make sure you subscribe to Nehemiah's Wall podcast, which is Torah Pearls, Prophet Pearls, Hebrew Voices. I'm also going to be putting out other teachings as the opportunity comes up. And it's a time that while we're stuck at home, people can hear the word and study and learn. I think it's a great opportunity.
Funny. Do you remember, Nehemiah, when we first started this some years ago, we were dealing with the book, and you were the one that came to me and said, Keith, I think there's going to be a shift and a change. We're going to have to do more things online. And I fought you, and you made me get a Gmail account, and you made me get all this stuff. I hated you for it. I hate technology. I told Andrea, I hate technology in one sense. But now with the newsletters at nehemiahswall.com, bfainternational.com, you can get on the newsletter and at least hear what's happening and all these opportunities. I mean, it's just.
And this is really important. If you haven't been seeing my weekly e-newsletter, or weekly e-newsletter, which is a separate one, mine's from Nehemiah's Wall and Keith's from BFA International, then go to your spam or your promotions folder, drag it out of there, and make sure it's whitelisted, that anything from Nehemiah at nehemiahswall.com and from Keith list, that it isn't being stuck in spam, because there's this cat and mouse game where they're doing everything they can to keep information out of people's hands.
That's another.
I was told that if we put the word, I was told by my editor in Serbia that if you put the word COVID-19 in the title, that they're going to pull it not only from YouTube, they may actually pull it from iTunes. So we could be putting out a teaching that no one will ever see, and the only way you can find out about it is if you are on our newsletter. That's the one.
Make sure that you do that.
Now they haven't been able. They're trying to hide it from you, right? They're sticking it in promotions or spam or junk box or whatever. Pull it, or junk folder. Pull it out of there. make sure it's whitelisted that you get our information.
Well, next week, we're going to lean into this. Nehemiah, you're going to be excited. I'm excited. Next week, we're going to lean into this whole thing that's happening. And there's something that, I don't know, you're going to be excited. I'm excited about. So we'll keep doing this until they let us out of quarantine, okay?
All right, Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
for Tuesday I haven't done, and I
Hello, how we doing? Just hold on for me one moment, Eileen. Emily is running YouTube, so I have to get in and stop YouTube here. Just give me a moment. Getting there. Emily, are you there? Got this running and left. Okay, there we go. Had to log in so I get my posting back.